So you're bringing home a new dog or a new puppy. Congrats, you're gonna do awesome, and I know you are because in this video, I'm going to be sharing 5 common mistakes that pet parents make on their dog's first night home that makes the following weeks so difficult. So let's just jump into it right meow. The first mistake is allowing your new dog or your new puppy to roam your house, even under your supervision, freely and explore multiple rooms in your home. This can cause a lot of issues because regardless of the age, when you bring a new dog or puppy into your home, you have to realize how scary of a transition that is. Dogs are creatures of habit, just like you and I. They thrive on structure and routine, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. So whether you get your dog from a shelter or a rescue or from a breeder, it's so important that you remember to keep your dog's world small, especially that first night. Do your best, if at all possible, to restrict your new dog to only 1 or 2 rooms in the house, especially for that first night. Obviously, supervise them. I pick 2 rooms that I allow the puppy to go into. Typically, it's like the living room, and then second is the room that they're going to be sleeping in, which I'll talk about where I recommend for dogs to sleep on their first night later in the video. So often I see people just bringing their new puppy home and letting their dog explore all the rooms in the house because that is the new dog's home after all. But what you can do to help minimize your dog's anxiety, help them sleep better at night. A lot of you guys always ask me, why is my puppy screaming all night? It's because they're overwhelmed and they're stressed. And the smaller you keep their world in the beginning, the more confident and comfortable they're going to become faster. Now, the only other place I recommend to allow your dog or puppy to go is obviously outside to wherever their designated potty area is going to be and let them run around. And that's going to lead me to my next mistake, which is not starting a routine or basic training from the moment you get into that home with your new dog, especially the first night. So a lot of people bring their new puppy home and they just let the puppy or new dog roam around and just kind of have a lax day, which is important to have fun and let your puppy do a little bit of exploring. But dogs, like children, thrive on structure and routine. We talked about that earlier. And so what you can do is show them right away where they can go potty. So take them outside, show them the potty area, and as soon as they go, because likely they will eventually, give them some rewards and start putting a command to that, whether it's go potty. For my dogs, going number 1 is tap your kidney. I don't know why. And then going number 2 is hurry, hurry. And so if you start training that early on from day 1, it starts giving your dog a purpose. So instead of focusing on what are all these scary sounds, what are all these scary smells, they're like, oh, okay, wait. Every time I sit down before my new mom or dad goes to pet me, I get a lot of love and extra treats. So maybe I should sit more instead of jumping up. The more you reinforce positive behavior, which is part of training with your new dog right away, the faster they're going to learn and become a more confident new dog. And of course, I don't expect your dog to be perfect on sits and downs on day 1, but absolutely positively, I recommend to start working on them day 1. You can use treats, you can use play, you can use praise, and just give them something to work on. Dogs need to have a job, even at a young age. And yes, even 8-9 week old puppies. I've had so many rescue puppies that I fostered that are under 10 weeks old, and I start working on sits and downs and being gentle when taking treats, and they pick up on it so fast. They are a sponge. Puppies especially, this is the fastest that they're gonna grow in their entire life, and that includes their brain. And here's a quick pro tip for you guys. Make sure that the very first thing you do when you get home or when you get to the house is take your dog or your new puppy outside to wherever you're gonna want them to go potty and go there first. Wait for them to go potty. It may take 10 minutes, it may take 30 minutes. And if you're in an apartment, fine, walk them out on leash wherever you're gonna let them go potty and wait for them to go potty and reward that. What you don't wanna do is bring a new puppy home, they get excited or nervous inside the house, and then they have an accident, because then you're kind of starting that precedent. It may happen, and if it does, it's okay. You're gonna get through this because I have a 1-step potty training process. I have it linked up here. It's also down below. But the net of my 1-step potty training process that has helped thousands of people is very simply to take your new dog or puppy outside 1 to 2 times every single hour. Yes, if you're in an apartment or a condo, that means leashing up and going outside. If you're in a house with a small yard, that means going outside. And guys, I get so many comments like, well, wait, if I have a puppy, they don't have all their vaccines, they shouldn't be going outside. Well, they need to go potty, and they need to go potty outside. So what I recommend, at least, is to, if you're in a public area like a condo, to make sure that you're avoiding places where a lot of other dogs are gonna go, but your dog has to go potty. Because dogs learn by doing something and then getting a positive reinforcement for doing said thing. So if in the first 48 hours, you've taken your dog outside almost every single hour and they've gone potty during those trips 80% of the time, and you rewarded them by saying, good job, go potty, or whatever you do, or treats, the likelihood of them continuing to go potty outside is so much greater than if you allow them to start having accidents indoors. So let's jump into my next mistake. And that mistake is bringing friends or family that don't live in your immediate home over within the first 1 to 2 days, even the first week or so. A lot of people get really excited with their new dog and they want to invite all their friends and family over because they think, one, it's going to socialize the dog, and two, they want their friends and family to meet their new family member. Here's the thing, like we talked about earlier, it is so imperative that for just at least the first few days or first week or so, to keep your new dog's world small. Give them a chance to feel safe and secure in your new home, especially that first night. Now, before I go into my 3 bonus tips, one of which is where not to allow your dog to sleep on their first night, let's talk about another mistake, which is not exercising your dog day 1 and allowing them to nap 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. So what I mean by that is a lot of times we want to come home, puppies especially, but even new dogs, because their stress level is so high, a lot of times they'll be a little bit more sedated and seem like they're really sleepy. And that's because they are. Stress does that to your body, but I want you to make sure you take a little bit of time to exercise and mentally stimulate your new dog or new puppy that first night. You can do that with some brain games, which I have a video linked up here on how to do that, or down below. And especially if you do 1 or 2 brain games, just a couple short sessions of that, it really starts to build that bond right away between you and your dog. And then another thing people do all the time, which I've been guilty of this, is you bring your new dog or your new puppy home, you play all day, you're excited, evening time comes, you just want to sit down, maybe watch a little TV and cuddle your new puppy, and they're being so cute because they're snuggling up next to you, and so you let them nap 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. And then guess what's going to happen that first night when you try to go to bed? The puppy is going to scream, or they're going to want to play because they have just napped the last 2 to 3 hours. So please, for the love of dog, do not allow your dog to take a nap at least 1 to 3 hours or so before bedtime. Speaking of staying up late, this is a mistake that I've talked about before, and many of you get kind of upset about, understandably, because it's not always possible. But if it is possible for you and your situation, I want to make sure you hear this. Make sure that if at all humanly possible, you take time off work for the first at least 3 to 5 days of bringing your new puppy home. Worst case, maybe you could take a Friday off and then have a 3-day weekend, because what you don't want to do is bring new dog home or new puppy home and then have a day with them, and then the next week they're left alone for 8 to 10 to 12 hours. And if that's your only option, no, I'm not saying that you can't have a dog, and I get that there's working people out there, but you need to think of this ahead of time and do your very best to find a solution. But it will really help expedite the training and your dog's confidence in being in your new home if you're able to actually be home the first few days that you have them. Now let's talk about the bonus tips. So for the first bonus tip is I want you to take time to explore pet insurance. So this is something that a lot of people don't think about until after they get their dog, but you want to think about it early on, especially if it's a puppy, because pet insurance is less expensive the younger the dog is. The next one is many people will say, okay, well, for the first night, where should the new dog sleep? So this is not a crate training video. If you want crate training tips, good news, I have dozens of videos on that for you. And again, these have worked for thousands of people because I've done it so many times with all of the rescue dogs that I've fostered. So you can click the video link up here, or there's a whole playlist for you linked down below. For the first night, I have seen the most success, and I recommend to have the new dog or new puppy sleep in your bedroom, whether it be in a crate or a dog bed. I recommend starting out with a crate just to keep them safe so they don't get into something if you go to sleep, because it's nighttime, of course you're gonna sleep. But I think that especially for that first night, it just gives them a sense of security of not being isolated in the far back room. And then this next bonus tip mistake is not going to surprise any of you who've been following me for the last couple years, but not taking time to explore and learn about what real healthy dog food is something that, hi Finn, thank you, is something that I think is a huge mistake that we don't do as pet parents enough. It's something I didn't do when I first adopted my Labrador Bentley here over 10 years ago, is I didn't really take the time to truly look beyond what the media was telling me was healthy and actually take the time to learn about proper vaccination, which I do a video up here on vaccines. And if you wanna know what I think is the best dog food that you can feed pretty much any dog in the entire world, whether it's a puppy or an adult, click the video I have linked right here. I also have it linked down below. I go into great detail on what I feed my dogs, why I feed my dogs, that, and answer a ton of questions I know you're gonna have. And don't forget to click that subscribe button, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Goodbye.